and welcome back to North of Ordinary, the podcast where we shine a light on ordinary people doing extraordinary things in the Hull and Humber region. Now today I'm joined by Ray Chapman. He is a Hull born and bred man who started his life out with very little qualifications, leaving school with no set career path, joined the army, and now is a successful specialist paramedic with a book to his name. So today is all about the possible, really. If you've ever thought, I've no idea what I'm doing career-wise, or I maybe have gone down the wrong path, or is it too late to make the choices that I want? Today's all about it's never too late and you're never too old to learn something new or upskill and retrain. Welcome to North of Ordinary, Ray.
Thank you for having me on. It's much appreciated.
It's my pleasure. So your foundations, really, for resilience probably started where you grew up on Fountain Road in Hull and leaving school with just the one qualification. Is that right?
Yeah, obviously the groundings came from my grandparents, which I list in my book. My mum was a single mother, so I was brought up by my grandparents in the heart of Fountain Road. Terraced houses, brick dust, noise, and that taught me a lot. It taught me about the true grit of Hull. It taught me about, the ethics and morals, old-fashioned morals, I think.
Yeah, excellent. And so leaving school with just one qualification, no set career path, where did it take you?
Yeah, I think school was quite difficult. Again, can I call it working class schools?
Yeah, absolutely.
Into the 70s and 80s, there was nobody had sort of high flying aspirations. I think we all thought we were going to go and work in factories. Yeah. We all thought that, and I think that was the way back then. So no, I didn't have any aspirations. I always had dreams of being a soldier. I used to play with action men as a child, as you can imagine. And much like everybody else, I left school at 16 and went to work with my stepfather in the local tannery, which was a baptism of fire.
Oh, the smell. I feel it up my nostrils now.
Yes, absolutely. I initially started on the crane, driving the crane in the warehouse, which was quite good. And it made me feel that I could earn my own money. Mm-hmm. I had money in my pocket.
A sense of worth.
Yes. And at school, I was never in the in crowd, can I say. I never had the designer gear. Sometimes my mum sent me to school with shoes with 2 pairs of socks and bread bags in between just to keep my feet dry because I had a hole in the bottom of my shoe. So it was never sort of wealthy. We never had the money, say, to buy the designer clothes. So I always felt a little bit left out there. So I went to Tanyard and started in the crane, and then they moved me when I just turned 17 into what they call the drying shed, the warehouse, where it involved me dipping leathers and then hanging them up on sort of metal bars, which is where the shoulders came from.
I was going to say, that takes some strength to do that.
Yeah, the shoulders grew then, hanging 200 leathers every single day at work, but gave me money in the pocket, gave me the chance to sort of experience whole nightlife as well, I think.
Oh, did you get your first car with that money?
No, I couldn't drive then. I couldn't drive until I left the army. Mm-hmm. But it was the army that gave me that finance to be able to do that. So no, it wasn't about. It gave me my first designer clothes. Oh. It gave me my first pair of decent trainers. Can I say it?
Nice.
My first pair of jeans. What were half decent like. So yeah.
And what was your sample nightlife back then? What was it?
It was good, wasn't it, in them days? Romeo's and Juliet's.
Oh, God, yeah.
Romeo's and Juliet's was the place to be. Soul music. I used to love the soul music and just dancing and enjoying ourselves. Me and my friend Nick Hunt, we used to go dancing in Romeo's and Juliet's and dance, of all things. Get drunk, but dance.
Yes.
And we never used to pull many women, and I think it was my dancing that put them off.
Oh, I like that. But you got up and danced.
Absolutely, yeah. So
there's not many would nowadays. Yeah.
So I enjoyed that part of it, yeah. I enjoyed the earning, and you're becoming somebody, aren't you? Yeah. You're developing as you're growing into an adult, aren't you? You're learning new things as you go along. So that's what I've always done.
So what took you from there into the army?
I think it was the relentless monotony of hanging these leathers and being exhausted and going home and having your tea and then getting a bath and going to bed. Mm-hmm. And you thought, is this what I'm destined to be? Is this where I'm going in my life? And some penny drops and said, no, try something different. So I went past the Army Careers office and took the Queen's shilling.
And was there any other members of the family that had been in service?
Yeah, my great grandfather, he died at the Somme, but I only found that out lately, and it's almost like it's in your bloodlines, in your genes. And I was always attracted to the army for some reason. Again, I mentioned the action men. I used to play with action men. It was just something I wanted to do, so I joined and I took it from there, really.
Now, there must have been some key people and, more importantly, key events that happened while you were in service that changed you, your life, your outlook on life even.
We mentioned, I think in your report, you mentioned discipline, and I looked at discipline in great depth. And I think when you join the army, you've got to accept discipline. Discipline is something you accept. You either go with it or you reject it. And I think there were some guys in the army who just went, this is not for me. Really? I can't take that discipline. So I learned discipline when I was in the army. I didn't need discipline. And as a child, I wasn't a rogue child. I was quite sensible, really. But I looked at that and I thought discipline is something that I accepted. You know, it was part of being in the army. But I don't think it moulded me. I think what moulded me was the realisation that when you're in the army, you belong to something. It made me feel part of something. And it taught me how to prepare, how to plan. And there's them, I always remember the 4 Ps. Let me see if I can get it right.
Go on then.
Preparation prevents poor planning.
Yes.
And we can swear in that at some points as well, but we're not going to do that. But that has always transpired through my life. If you prepare and you analyse yourself and you look deeply at yourself, you can then sort of move forward. Don't try and look at stuff with, too much expectation. You look at yourself and you look at yourself and then look at realistic objectives. I think, so for instance, if you're a Mini, you're not going to win a Formula 1 car race, you know what I mean? And that's how I relate myself as a person. Not as a Mini, but, what can I achieve in life? And that's what the army did for me. I think it made me look at myself, in depth, and what can I do when I leave the army?
Because whilst you were in the army, you were a part of a boxing, rugby, was that?
Yeah, there was a few things. I always remember it. Sergeant Major came up to me and said, "You'll be my heavyweight Chapman."
You're like, "Oh, am I now?"
I said, "I've never boxed before," and he said, "You'll soon learn, my boy," like that.
Oh, dear.
So I had to learn quite quickly how to fight. Really, again, we can go back to school. Going to a working class school, you don't have much choice but to learn how to fight. You either fight. So it's two things, isn't it? You either run away or you fight. And unfortunately, being a big guy, I always attracted it, which I didn't want.
But you got it anyway.
I got it anyway,
what am I going to do with this? Yes.
So I learned how to avoid it. I learned how to stick up for myself. And then in the army, I just thought this was part of what was always my destiny. Mm-hmm. I did, I thought, well, I've done this in civilian life, going into the army and now being made to box. It's him versus me, so I learnt to box.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Again, we go back to the discipline and the boxing is not just about violence. There's an art to it. You've got to learn how to move. You've got to learn how to throw combinations and do it properly. It's not just get in there and start milling, because you do that in the army as well. There's an art to it, and you either take to it or you don't, and you've got to learn how to do it properly.
And was there a particular turning point in the army when you thought, this isn't me anymore?
I think I bent out quickly in the army because if you remember, I went in the army at 17 and I had my 18th birthday in basic training. So I
Wow.
didn't celebrate my
Woo!
age.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah. So I didn't have an 18th birthday. Then we got stationed to Northern Ireland, and I was in C Company
This was back in...
in 1986.
So this was at the height of the Troubles? across
Right
there?
in the heart of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, yeah. And I got posted to the Prince of Wales Own Regiment of Yorkshire. So it was, again, a local thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was posted to C Company, and then in C Company followed B Company. And B Company, you did it on rotation, so there were so many on barrack duties, so you had to guard the barracks and you had to do things like going on the ranges. And C Company were on that, but I was posted to them. But B Company got some injuries. Somebody got blown up, and they needed guys to fill their roles on the ground. So because I was the new boy, I had to go in and fill the role of the B Company guys who'd got injured. So, and that was 4 months of active service, and we used to say 16 hours a day, constant, and you used to be fatigued, and that's why you needed the rotation. But because I didn't get the rotation, because I was in C Company, which followed B Company, I did 8 months of active service. So my whole of my 18th year was a baptism of fire, really.
And going into a role that you're filling a position where the previous person got injured, that must have been quite
It was
terrifying at that age,
It
kind
was.
of thing.
I
Who
remember
knows
it.
what?
Yeah, it was horrific. The memories of an 18-year-old, because I still, as a 58-year-old man now, I class myself as a boy then. Yeah, I was a boy.
Yeah.
All day long. Harrowing. I used to remember the song in a 19, a combat soldier in Vietnam while I was 18, in the middle of Northern Ireland. And what happened to me in B Company was also quite horrific. I was stationed at Besbrook Mill, which was the busiest heliport in Europe, where helicopters come in and out, and we were classed as airborne, so we'd get on helicopters quite regular. I went to the cookhouse. I sat and had my breakfast, and then boom, the whole building shook. And I run, and we were taught to dive under cast iron metal beds. So I sort of dove under a metal bed. And then it was like, stand so. So I run. We had to get our kit on, and then we had to go straight out on patrol. And we went out till about 8 o'clock on the night, patrolling the area to find out where the mortar rounds were coming from. We never found them individually. I'm aware that another unit did. And then when I got back in the cookhouse to have an evening meal, having spent all day out, there was an empty shell mortar round on the kitchen table. Now, and it'd come through the skylight. If that had gone off, I wouldn't be here, because I was in the corridor alongside, and the crater outside was 40 foot. Thankfully, nobody was injured in them incidents as well. But I remember running outside, and I remember the vivid images of a crater and 2 cars on fire upside down. And as an 18-year-old, that was quite horrific and scary, very scary.
Harrowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Concerned that I hadn't lost any of my friends and
Yes.
stuff, but luckily I didn't. So, yeah, it was very scary at them times.
Wow. How many years were you in the army?
So, as I said, I think that burnt me out.
Yeah.
We went to Germany on particular exercises, and we ended up to America, and there was talk of us going back to Northern Ireland. And I thought, no.
I can't face it. Please not.
Yeah. I thought, no, I can't. Is this for you? Is this what you want? And I just thought, no, this is not for me. Need to start looking at getting out.
So you got out?
I got out. I started to try and my friend was a builder, and we tried to set up a building company. He was a qualified builder, and I was going to be his labourer.
Excellent.
Started off great, but in them days, people were slow at paying. It's not a critique, it's just the way that things were. So we'd do the work, people didn't pay. So we then couldn't carry on because we were so behind. So that that put paid to that, and that's when I mentioned in the book we had a good time in Tenerife. We enjoyed ourselves in Tenerife on an 18 to 30.
Oh, I remember those. My life at Thomas Cook, I was booking 18 to 30 holidays week after week.
Was it you that booked
It's
me?
probably me that booked you.
So yeah, I mean that again is an experience in its own light, really. So I enjoyed that part, experiencing life, experiencing relationships, because I never do. You think of it as a 17-year-old lad joining the army, I'd not had proper relationships, so to experience that was great as well. It was good fun.
Oh. So what led you from that, the fun times, to thinking, I tell you what I'll do, I'm going to be a paramedic?
It didn't. I was never going to be a paramedic because I didn't think I had the qualifications in me. I didn't think I had the education in me, and that's the other thing. That's where I didn't over-expect. I didn't lay my table out and look at myself and say, right, I want to do that, because I didn't think I had the necessary qualifications to do that. So let's track back a little bit, because the last thing I did in the army was pick up the bits at Lockerbie, which was quite horrific as well.
Wow.
So yeah, that was quite horrendous, and we found £300,000 worth of travellers' checks.
So that's what funded your 18 to 30 holiday.
So that was horrific as well. And then I got out and I thought, what can you do? So I drove a van delivering car parts for 2 years. And that gave me time to, can I call it, analyse myself, process my thoughts. What did I want to do for the rest of my life? What could I do? And I sat and I thought, I can work with children, underprivileged children, like Hewlett homes, for instance.
Yeah.
I thought, I can do that. I'm really good at being able to get to their level, if you know what I mean. So I went to college and got my English O-level that I never got at school. And then I got a City and Guilds in community care.
What age was this?
What was I? It must have been about 22, 23.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I did that. But to fund that, because you need to fund yourself and to work, I chucked being the van driver, and I ended up being a doorman. But a doorman are always associated with aggression out there. They are, especially in them days.
Yeah.
I was a talker. I could talk a lot of stuff down. Although I could handle myself, and it wasn't always quite as rough as we wanted it to be. I found that it paid me more than just being a barman. Mm-hmm. So that's why I did that, and that's when I went to college, and then it gave me the chance to go to university. I went for the diploma in social work at university on the basis of I'd got the City and Guilds in community care.
How did you find learning in later life compared with, say, like school life or something like that?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot. I think when you're an adult, you're more focused. You're more in tune with having to do it. I think as a child, you're more distracted.
Yeah.
Especially more distracted in the classroom.
Yeah.
And distracted when you have to do the work at home, don't you? If you don't do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You've got to put the effort in. You've got to put the time in. You've got to make sacrifice. If you don't make sacrifice, you ain't going anywhere. Is that what the army taught me? I think maybe. I don't know. I don't know what. And the lots of the questions, I asked myself, where did that come from? Where I actually sat down and studied, and put the telly down, can I call it?
Yeah.
Don't look at social media, and I think that's a big distraction nowadays.
Yes, it wasn't back in my day. I didn't have social media back in my day. Studying and such like. But even it's finding those times between, doing the night shift as a doorman kind of thing, and study time, and putting it in, and if you say, well, if I don't do this, it's only on me if I don't.
That's right. Absolutely, yeah. This is what I mean about analysing and processing yourself. You've got to look at what you want to. I could have stayed in the factory, and do you know what? I respect all the guys, and I still know guys working in factories who have done that for 30 years, and I applaud that. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It takes a lot of resilience in its own right.
Yeah.
It might not need the intelligence, but to get up every morning and do that takes something for me. It's not what I wanted. I wanted this path that I'm on now, and some of the parts, as mentioned in my book, I hit low points, and I thought that was the end on several occasions where I thought, I've tried my best here, and I ain't going to do it. But then somehow I picked myself up and dust myself off and carried on.
It's picking yourself up, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
getting to that point where you're just like, it's one way or the other kind of thing here.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think coming from my mum's single parent family, and then my stepdad coming in, we didn't have much. As I said about the shoes with the bread bags on to keep my feet dry, we never had a lot. And, you know, we never had anything. I can't even remember. We never went on a holiday. It was my uncle that took me on my first holiday. It was, you know, them sort of things. I just used to love playing in the street, if you know what I mean. So we didn't have a lot, but I think that gave me the resilience to dust myself off, because not having anything, you were used to not having anything.
Yeah.
Can I say that? Mm-hmm. You was used to not. So what did I have to lose?
Nothing.
If you haven't got nothing to
Absolutely
lose,
nothing.
yeah. If you haven't got nothing to lose, you just think, well, come on, get up, have another go.
So you applied?
To the ambulance service. No,
Yes.
I think we need to go back to the university bit. I didn't finish
Sorry.
the diploma in social work. Did I?
Skipping you along like a dog here.
Diploma in social work. I played rugby for them because I was good at rugby as well with these shoulders, and we got to the final of the cup within the university, Humberside University, and some bright spark had the idea of shaving our heads. And I didn't want to do it, being ex-army.
Yeah.
So I reluctantly did it in the end, and the deputy head of the department failed me for having an aggressive haircut.
Wow.
So I thought that was my low point. That was me going down. And my current girlfriend obviously left me for her own reasons at that time as well. So I hit rock bottom at that point. I really did hit the rock bottom.
So you couldn't pass your diploma even though you'd done all the work?
Yeah, I was on my final practice placement. I'd done 2 years at uni. I passed everything. And then because I shaved my head, and it was on the very final practice placement, he decided to say that was an aggressive haircut.
Because that obviously affects your ability, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You've spent the last 2 years at university, and because you've shaved your head, you've failed at the last hurdle. It's like the Grand National. You've jumped all the fences, and then somebody trips you up. So I didn't deliberately shave my head to make it look aggressive.
No.
I think there was times when David Beckham shaved his head, and that was never classed as aggressive. So he just said to me, you weren't going to pass with a haircut like that. So at the time, I thought that was my lowest point.
So did you get your diploma in the end?
No.
Not at all?
No, I got failed on the last...
couldn't-
No, he failed me on the very final practice assessments.
You just think, give me 2 weeks and I'll have, hair again kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the end of that. And like I said, that was me hitting rock bottom. But then they say things happen for a reason, don't they? And I joined the ambulance service on patient transport, which is the lowest level. So that's what made me join the ambulance service. And I thought that the attraction was I'd tried to get in the fire brigade, been unsuccessful. So I had these knockdowns, but dusted myself off, got back in, and saw the job coming in on patient transport. When I got in on the job on the patient transport, they said it was 40 hours, but it ended up only 30 hours. But I needed to move. I'd moved back in with my mum and my dad after the army. So that was like, I was like getting older, and I wanted somewhere of my own. So 30 hours was never going to be enough. So I ended up joining the prison service on the back of the Sitting Guilds of Community Care as the guidance, advice and support worker. So I did that for 30 hours, remained at patient transport, I remained the doorman, and then I ended up being a boxer-size instructor, having been a boxer in the army. I got a qualified boxer-size. So I had 4 jobs.
Did you sleep? Was there time to sleep in this?
No, I don't think... when I look back, I think, how did I do that? I have no idea. But again, I look back at the army and I think, how did I used to run long distances with weight? I'm like, was that me? And there's always that imposter syndrome. Was that me? Mm-hmm. And it is you. I even do that in the ambulance service now. I look at an ambulance going past and I go, do I do that?
So which of the 4 jobs did you give up first?
So this is when the technician job came available, which is like a paramedic's mate. So you're skilled to be able to give certain amount of drugs. You're skilled to be able to shock people, but you're not quite a paramedic who can give advanced drugs.
Right.
So I went in for the technician course, but I had to give up all them 4 things. It was a big roll of the dice. I had to I had to leave them. Once you've left that position, you can't come back.
Yeah.
So it was a big role, which I think was the hardest bit of my training. And then you've got all the sort of Greek and Latin terminology of learning medicine. So you've got, hemoptysis and, hematemesis and all these words.
Yeah, that means... Yeah.
Nothing to it. Yeah. So that's bringing up blood, basically, coughing up blood and vomiting blood is what I've just told you. But they were it was like learning a new language. But I think the basics, and this is what I mean about some things happen for a reason. So the college gave me the basis to be able to study. The university gave me the academic level to study at that level. So it happened for a reason, I think. It's almost like you're being moved on a chessboard.
Excellent.
So I became a technician in the year 2000.
And how long were you there doing that role?
So that I was doing that role for 4 years until 2004, and then I decided to become a paramedic. And what inspired me to do that is because you're working alongside a paramedic, you then think, I can do that. I can do that. I don't think I could have said that without
those 4 years, or some part of those 4 years. Yeah.
And I think the PTS gives you the grounding. So patient transport gave me the ability to speak to people. I think what happens is on the ground, and I mentor now as a specialist paramedic, I mentor the students at university. I also mentor the newly qualified paramedics who have to do 2 years probationary period, and they have to get so many hours in third manning or second manning with myself. And the biggest problem that we see and we discuss is the fact that they don't have the ability to speak to people. So we go in as medical detectives, don't we? What have we been called for?
Yeah.
When does it happen? When did it start? Where is it? How long has it lasted for? And I always say to them, do the what, when, why, how. And then if you're not sure and you need to dig a bit deeper, just do the what, when, why, how. And you generally get to the bottom of it. But a lot of them, because they're inexperienced, some of them now have been in the ambulance service longer than they've been alive. For 26 years at the front line of emergency care, and I have to nip myself on that one as well. Is they don't speak to people, they don't know how to speak to people because they've been in an environment where they haven't had to. That doesn't mean that the poor people, they soon learn they have to if they want to go on.
It's part of their basics.
Yeah, they have to
basics learning that.
They have to do it. Yeah. So yeah, that's what happens. And then I ended up a paramedic. I went to paramedic training school, different in them days because it was in-house and we called it an ICD qualification, a bit like the Sitting Gills and then now NVQs, isn't it? I did the Sitting Gills of paramedic medicine.
So this is at the same time as you are a
technician.
Yes.
So I went, the difference between rolling up the 4 jobs and rolling the dice on that one, my technician role was always a safety net. That was my first safety net I had.
Yes.
And that was what made me go forward because I had that safety net to go back on. And then I became a paramedic.
But being a paramedic is such a demanding role, very respectful role, but hugely demanding. You don't know when you leave home in the morning, you don't know what you're going to
No, that's what I like
be
about
in front of each. That's what you like about it.
I like not knowing what I'm going into, yeah.
It could be horrific what you get put in front of.
It is, yeah.
That's so impactful on your life. How do you deal with that in a way?
Good question. I think you have to have a solid base, solid background. So you have to be able to discuss it with, first and foremost, your colleagues, colleagues that have experienced it with you. Are you okay? Am I okay? Did we do everything right? And I think that debrief is the first point. Then you have to have I think you have to have a stability in your life. And this goes back to going back to Fountain Road, and this goes back to, I had some sort of stability, and I'm aware that there are other kids out there that don't have that stability. Yeah. And in some ways that twists the rhetoric. That makes it more difficult for them because they haven't got that debrief. And this is the advice I would give to them today, is just sit back, take a breath. If you haven't got that structure, find a way of finding that structure. Find a way of sort of just sitting back, debriefing with yourself, or find somebody who can help you debrief.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be family.
No.
It could, friends, it could be colleagues, it could be reaching out to a source of some description. Yeah.
And then use them to help you map out your goals, your aspirations, but make them realistic. Don't say, I want to be a rocket scientist, unless you are absolutely prepared to actually nail yourself to
Yes.
study.
Yeah.
Set out realistic goals and perspectives of what you can achieve.
Because there is so much pressure on the youngsters nowadays to have a plan, to go down the academia route kind of thing. You have to have this, you've got to do this, and then that's your next step. And for some, that just isn't sort of like what they want.
Well, it certainly was for me.
No.
I didn't know.
But then it's okay to go back to
Yes.
learning. Don't think, oh God, I've left it too late. This isn't for me. Kind of, if only I'd have done this kind of thing. You can still do it.
I think we highlight there that I thought I was at rock bottom, but that rock bottom turned out to be the best thing that happened to me, because without that rock bottom, I would never have been the paramedic I am today. Because my life, it was almost like the change of direction, and one door closes and the other one opens. That's the saying. And that saying really, am I so glad that happened? But at the time,
Absolutely.
I thought I was devastated at the time. I was at rock bottom, and I thought there's no way forward. But somehow I picked myself up and dusted myself down. That's what I'm saying. This is what I want to pass. The message I want to pass today. There is always another door to open. Whether you think there isn't, just step back, try and release the anger, find somebody who can guide you, and find somebody who can give you that intelligence to process where you want to go.
And what I've learned from reading your book and listening to you today is that it's people and events that change and shape you as well, isn't it? It's the people in your life. Like you say, if you hadn't have met that person, if you hadn't have done that thing, if you hadn't, like that door hadn't been opened by that person, you wouldn't have been where you are today.
Absolutely not, no. I thought about that. There was a question there where, was there anybody who inspired me? I got a lot, do you know what? Again, I don't know if it's because I was born in the 70s and 80s. I got a lot of inspiration from watching TV. Films.
Who in particular?
Films, the typical ones. I used to like a bit of John Wayne.
Oh, I love John Wayne.
Because
Marvin.
His ethic, but the ethics and morals were there, weren't there? The goodness, the way to present yourself. I know in some ways I know it was a film. And again, you look at the Rocky films and stuff like that. But there's certain lines in there, isn't there, that I always relate to. You just keep moving forward. Yeah. Like, life in all sunshine and rainbows, sometimes it's going to knock you down, and you've got to get up and you've got to keep driving forward. That's what makes a real fighter. And I think there's an element of that in me. I know it sounds corny, but it's true.
So that's one piece of advice you'd give somebody. What's another piece of advice if somebody thinks, I want to go back to learning? What's the one thing that you would think, you've got to do this first kind of thing, to get that straight, for make it an easier path maybe kind of thing? Or
if we go back to the inspirational thing, who inspired me to do that? My stepdad was a proper Yorkshireman. He was from Bingley originally, and he'd come to Hull. And he never, ever praised me. Never, ever, ever. So I could play rugby, I could score 3 tries, get man of the match, and I'd say, how do I do? And he'd go, you did all right.
But was that his praise?
I
just saying that?
I think that's why I mentioned
was his,
it. He didn't want me to get too big-headed, I don't think. Really? And it was a case of, it made me fight ghosts, didn't he? It made me think, I've got to try harder next time. I've got to score 4 tries next time.
Yeah.
And
you can't get you did well,
Yeah, never. And that was part of being working class? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's just the way some people are. Yeah. And that was the way he was. So did he inspire me? Yeah, but not in a way I liked. not in a way I liked. What would I give as advice to people now? Yeah, you're not too old. You're never too old to learn anything. But set realistic goals. Don't over. I said about the rocket. Don't try and go and be a rocket scientist unless you are gonna. You have got all the time in the world to study and really put in the effort. For me, and I'll make you laugh on this. So maths, I could never do. I was horrendous at maths. Whether that was because of my schooling, I don't know. But algebra, what was all that about? So I never set myself goals that involved mathematics. The unfortunate thing now is if you want to join the ambulance service now, at the base level, which is an ambulance support worker, which is working as a driver with advanced skills, you have to have your English and maths. And you have to have the C1 on your driving licence. Again, that was part of the grandfather rights in the old days. So the advice is, for anybody wanting to join the ambulance service, is make sure you've got your English and maths. And even if you have to go back to Hull College, put in the effort, put in the time, and get them. And that is your baseline. If you've got your A-levels, or if you haven't got your A-levels, you can go and do a stepping stone course. I can't remember what the course is called, but there's a stepping stone course at Hull Uni that will allow you to go on the university pro forma. You can go to university and study for 3 years to be a paramedic, which is not the way I went. I went, as in the old way, was the stepping stone structure. So if it was me doing it now, I'd be the ASW. I would have to get maths and English.
Do you think you'd get your maths now?
I think I'd struggle.
Really?
I do. I really do. I think if I put the time and effort in,
Yeah.
I may do it. I'd have to really have a good teacher, I think. And again, that's the key.
Yes.
That is the key to the door. If you've got a teacher, and it goes back down to going to school and going to St. Henry Cooper, where I went in Brunswick, if you've got a teacher that has got the time to spend with you to teach you correctly, and then the penny drops with you, then you have the ability, I think. But if you don't find that person to teach you the right way, then I think you can search for that golden coin as much as you want, but you won't get it. You've got to get that. And you can't move forward. Lots of people try and move forward and say, I've been doing this for 30, 40 years without qualifications. But without that piece of paper to say that you're qualified, in this day and age, you're not going anywhere, I don't think.
But maths must come into your job all the time.
Massively, yeah. Well, I've got to work out the calculations of drug doses, yeah. I can still do it. I can do.
I was going to say, I'm a bit worried about me if you ever come and be my
No. I'm quite good now at being able to work out, especially on countdown.
Really?
Yeah, I'm really good. I quite impress myself now. But is that an acquired skill that I've done myself? And what I mean about the maths, when you get an English O level in maths, it's that knowing how to work out that equation of algebra. I don't think I'd struggle with that. I'd struggle with that now, I think. But probably could go back. Would I want to? No. Yeah.
And is there any other learning that you want to do? Maths aside, forget maths. Is there any other qualifications?
I think the book is the experiment, isn't it? This was never going to be a book.
So why a book? Was it people saying, oh, you've been in the army, you've done this, you've done that, you must have lots of stories to tell, you should write it down one day, kind of thing?
And that's what I did. I thought, I can't remember when I did that. When did I actually do that? So I actually started to write memoirs on my phone, just putting them in on my notes. So this began on my phone as notes. It was never a Word document. How it transpired to be a book, about 2012, I went to a chap's house whose daughter had banged her elbow and she'd fainted. So I did some checks on her and said she's fine, and he was so appreciative. And he was making a magazine at the time called The New Mail, and he said, "Will you do an article in there?"
So is that the New Mail or the Nude Mail?
No, I wasn't going to be.
Oh, I was going to say. I was
The
a
New
bit worried
Mail.
then going round to his house.
So he asked me if I'd do an article because he was a brand new magazine, and I said yeah, and it helped him lift his magazine off the ground, and he did quite well for himself, and he's done really well for himself. Excellent. And I bumped into him, and he said, "Oh, how are you doing?" I said, I've started writing my memoirs and stuff like that. He went, "Will you let me have a look at them?" I said, "Well, they're on my phone.
Yeah, they're just ramblings.
Yeah.
Thing.
So he said, if you can put them on a Word document, I'll actually have a look at them and we can see about 10 of them to work out. And I was like, I ummed and ahed and I thought, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. So in the end, I succumbed and I tasked my wife, because she works at a company, I tasked my wife to actually put it all on a Word document for me. And then I showed him it and he went, this is gold dust, because it's real.
Yeah.
You haven't had a ghostwriter.
It's honest.
It's honest.
It's brutally honest at times, yes.
And he put me onto a publisher who then put it in a book. And when I pressed that button to launch it, I was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
Because I'm exposing parts of me.
I've put myself out there.
Yeah.
To be judged, to be,
Yeah.
you know.
And I'm aware of that in society. Whether you're a paramedic or not, people judge you. People put you in boxes and people say, what's he doing it for? Well, I'm not doing it for anybody. I'm not doing it for myself. That's a fact. I do it for every paramedic and every ambulance person. This is the true story. And what that guy said to me, he said, the difference between yours and anybody else's, a lot of people talk about the dark humour of the ambulance side and they talk about the jobs. But nobody's ever said, how did that happen? How did you become the specialist paramedic? Nobody's ever done that before. So,
You glad you did it?
absolutely. I'm glad I did it. Absolutely. I can't believe I've done it. I pinch myself. I'm in here now.
And is there another one in the offing?
People have asked me that.
Yeah.
It took a lot of hard work, to actually get it to where it is, proofreading and readjusting, and maybe.
Excellent. Well, we'll leave it on that then, Ray. It was a fabulous read. It really was. I've got to admit, and it's so lovely to have you here to have this honest conversation about your journey so far, and I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
It is you're a whole lad. You know, doing fabulous things for the people of the Hull and Humber region.
I hope it can inspire somebody, and if you want to know how I did it, then buy the book. It's available on Amazon in Waterstones.
Yep.
And it's free on the Kindle. The Kindle aspect.
Download, yeah.
Yeah, it's free on there. So.
Well, we'll mention it on the show list at the end. So yeah, thank you, Ray, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everyone for listening. If you've enjoyed, subscribe and share with anybody that you think may be interested in hearing more about Ray's story and North of Ordinary. Thank you ever so much. See you soon.